Hey guys, so due to the coronavirus, there has been a huge economy um, down progress. I mean, no down progress. It has been a huge
Uh-huh.
calamity,
Economic.
right? Economic collapse and stuff. Obviously, we got the stock market going down to a record low in the United States history, and due to that, a lot of people also have been unemployed because of the CDC demanding everyone to stay at home to bring down people from getting contaminated or sick in the process of maybe not obviously contaminating other people who are in the danger of dying like older people, right? But right
Right.
here, as you see a tweet from Sahar Injeti, who happens to be the rising journalist. He says 30,000 unemployment claims have been filed in Connecticut since Friday. All right, a lot of people obviously are rapidly going out there and signing up for unemployment benefits because they happen to be out of a job, and this is something that is very rapidly coming in and hitting people's faces. Right, people are like, "How am I gonna pay my bills? How am I gonna pay my rent?" And this is what Donald Trump right now is trying to make something for to compensate that, since he gave 1.5 trillion. What was it? 1.3 trillion. Uh,
2.4.
was it 2.4? I think it
In
was
total, when it's
1.5.
all done, yeah. When it's all in total, it adds up to about 2.4.
Oh, 2.4 2.4
In
trillion
total. It was just 1.5 to the stock market.
to the stock market, right? And then it just lasted an hour,
Yeah.
right? It just they put that on the market, and in 1 hour, boom, gone.
1 hour bump. 1 hour bump and it was
And it
gone.
was gone. I mean, I can't believe they did that, but I think the Trump administration is very desperate to come up with a solution to bring up the economy, and then obviously that didn't work out. But right now, recently, they are planning to come with a stimulus package, right? That will bring cash to people's hands. It says White House expresses support for an immediate cash payment to Americans as a part of the coronavirus stimulus package. I think how much are they planning to give to people? $1,000.
I've heard anything from 1,500. Bernie Sanders calls for 2,000.
Yeah,
Uh, the sub senators should say, I think most settle about 1,000.
yeah, more likely. I think this is obviously was a proposal earlier for someone who rise to the top of the uh, primary presidential nominees, which was Andrew Yang, right? Andrew Yang was the top lead for this proposal to bring the
Yeah.
UBI, which will bring $1,000 to people as I think a lower end, right? What's it called? Um, as a lower, I know as a instead of like programs such as like a minimum wage or anything like that, or other social
Right.
programs that will give you when in times of need, you will have UBI
Safe.
instead. The social
Right.
safety nets, yeah. So UBI will replace those things, and I think Andrew Yang wanted to concentrate just on that, right? Just create a UBI program that would give Americans
Yep.
$1,000 just in case. But obviously, this is something that's being adapted because of this huge emergency with the coronavirus thing going on. And obviously, Bernie Sanders said, "No, I think it should be increased to $1,000 for low payment for every single worker out there that needs this kind of cash." Um,
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 is gonna barely cover rent in California anyway. If you're in California, 1,000 is not really enough. 2,000 would be better, but again, it still might not be enough. But it'll cover rent better.
yeah,
Um, I just think that, yeah, I mean, kind of going off top a little bit. It's just kind of ridiculous that uh, everyone is like a progressive now.
yeah,
Like these programs are there. Like people knew this was gonna happen, right? We knew there was gonna be a coronavirus, and we knew that it was gonna be, impact the economy in such a way that Americans weren't really prepared for those kind of emergencies or being out of work for a long period of time. And only now people like actually see the consequences of not having that safety net. The thing is like you do it now for coronavirus, and then nothing. right? And then nothing happens, nothing changes, and the next one hit, and you gotta hope that that the Congress votes again for it the next time, and then you gotta hope that it happens a third time and a fourth time, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so ridiculous because it's just kind of like the budget, right? When the government is threatened to shut down, it's like why do you have to keep having that vote? Tie it to just tie tie it to inflation. And we have to deal with all this stuff over and over and over again. Just make it a permanent thing and have inflation be a part of it. So like we don't have to keep having the same vote over and over again and wondering, oh, is it going to be shut down a second time, a third time, a fourth time, right? Because that's what hurt. Because like it's funny because all these like politicians they go and say that we don't want the economy to be hurt, we don't want the economy to be hurt, but it's like having the uncertainty of not knowing what to do next or not having the ability to do that hurts the economy. It's like economies are good with stability. The more stability people have, the better the economy works. The less stability people have, the worse the economy gets. And you see the wild swings that come along with getting rid of social safety nets or having insecurity.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then it's unfortunately that I think Democrats are doing a bad job as well because of the way how they dealing with this politically speaking.
Yeah,
And
I think yeah, it's sad that the Republicans are the ones kind of leading it, uh, which is ridiculous. But they just had, I think part of it tied their hands because they just had a debate. I mean, they just had a primary where they were just talking about Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders weren't the ideas were ridiculous that it
yeah,
was impossible. And now it's like, what are you gonna do? Oh, let's do what we just said was impossible. Like, you see what I'm saying? Democrats make Republicans look good.
but
It's
you
simple.
did you see like because Mitt Romney was the one who kind of pushed for it for Biden. I mean, for Jan's idea to be put into the stimulus package, right?
Yeah,
And Mitt Romney came in to Munchin brought it up to Trump. He agreed, right, that he at some point some money had to be paid to people. And but then Kamala Harris came in. It's like, you know what? Instead of giving people $1,000, just bring it down to 500. Right? Kamala Harris, I think she tweeted that, and people was like, "Wait, let me get this straight. You're saying instead of giving people $1,000, like some Republicans are trying to do, you want to bring it down to 500? I mean, she's
yeah,
from California, right?
yeah.
She
California.
knows the amount of expensive that people have in California.
What
Well,
is the expensive state in the country?
and she wants to bring it down to 500, and they call it
Exactly. But
and they call them
not only that,
Republicans like radical and
right? Not only that, but how much taxes is like if you spend, $50 of that, you lose another five. It's 10% where I am in California, and so it's like in some places in California, I think it's higher. I think it's like 12, 13. I could be wrong, but it's ridiculous. Like you lose a lot of money in taxes. And so she said, "Hey, give you 500." That's nowhere near enough at all. It's ridiculous. Like it's just ridiculous. You see the disconnect where you have politicians constantly vote to raise their own salaries, constantly vote to give themselves better healthcare benefits, better family leave. I
yeah,
think they go to work like what 3 days a week, 3, 4 days a week,
yeah, they don't show up.
and yet for some strange reason, average people can't have any of that stuff because it's impossible. But we can have it, but because it's possible for us, says the senator, but it's impossible for everyone else. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. I think it was who was the guy who was like saying, "Oh, why we should give people." Um, I think what was the senator who was really saying that? I think it was AOC who called out a senator because he said he don't want to give people paychecks from the government.
Lindsey Graham, yeah, Lindsey
Here's
Graham,
what I think.
yeah.
I think that the package passed by the House had wide bipartisan support. I don't like the family leave setup. I think we should have gone through the unemployment insurance route. We should have said to any company out there, any worker, that if you can't work because of the coronavirus, you're going to get you're going to keep getting your check. My focus is not giving people a check from the government. My focus is to make sure you get your paycheck from your employer. I'm willing to float loans to employers to make sure the payroll continues. That's phase three. Phase two. What
So, what do you think about that? And obviously, like,
I think it's
I
I
mean,
think it's
AOC
completely.
said it's like you've been getting a check since 1995 from the government, and you're telling people they shouldn't get checks from the government.
I mean, not only that, but these guys have been corrupt and giving their friends contracts for years, like no strings attached. And so it's like it's dumb because this is like if you give loans to payroll, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're adding more loan burden to the payroll company. You don't even know pay companies are notorious for wage theft, so you might not even get how much you actually deserve to get. And on top of that, a lot of people get paid hourly. So if the store is shut down and you pay them loan money, who are they gonna give it to? Remember, they're paid hourly. So how are you gonna determine how much an hourly worker gets paid?
Yeah.
What if I say, hey, they only work 4 hours this week? I'm gonna pocket the rest of this money.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was
You
thinking
know,
too. Like,
right?
what makes you think that they're not gonna pocket some of that money for
Right.
themselves? You know,
Right.
what's the guarantee for a worker to get full check or anything?
Another thing that needs to be talked about is that Donald Trump, after saying, remember, after saying for 6 years, Bernie Sanders is crazy. We can't afford free college. We can't afford blah blah. 1.5 trillion into the stock market like nothing.
Yeah,
Like just found the money magically.
yeah. One
That
day,
would
as
that would
approval was given.
yeah that would have paid for free college for like what 20 years.
Yeah, more like
Like it's ridiculous because free college, assuming it costs 80 billion a year. This is like what 10 years, 800 billion, 1.6 billion, so a little less than 20 years, right?
yeah,
It's like you magically found 1.5 trillion dollars to dump into the stock market, and then magically found another, God knows how much money, 850 billion they plan on the stimulus package.
yeah.
They found 1.5 trillion to jump to the stock market, then 850 billion for a stimulus package for businesses, and this $1,000 thing, right? But we don't have enough for healthcare for everybody. Like we just spent like trillions of dollars a couple of days, like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Like you hear me, like, but somehow we don't have enough
I
for
mean,
Medicare
out
for
of
all.
those $100 billion they want to do in stimulus package, I think about 50 billion is going to go to the air company, air,
Right, right.
air
Yeah,
aviation
I'm
companies,
just combining all together.
because
I heard it was like,
we bailing them out.
yeah, I heard it was what 250 billion for the checks for everybody,
Yeah,
and then, or at least that's how much people try to cut it down to, and then there was supposed to be a lot of other bailouts as well. I just put in a whole number.
and
It was, I think it was like in total it's going to cost 850 billion.
also a lot
And
of
so
like huge tax cuts for the rich as well. Again,
right, right, yeah, right, because they want a payroll tax cut too.
yeah,
And so it's like it was like $850 billion plus 1.5 trillion. That's 2 point no what 3 trillion, and like we just spent that out of nowhere, and no one asked. You never saw on CNN, MSNBC, any other thing where we find $2.3 trillion,
no, nobody said
right?
anything.
Like no one ever said it. No one asked it. I'm just like, isn't it funny? Like when it comes to saving their jobs, saving, helping their friends, all that stuff, the question never pops up. But when it comes to helping the American people in the long term, not just once, in the long term, magically it's a scandal. It's ridiculous.
It's just a joke because obviously, in a point where everyone is freaking out, the Trump administration is freaking out. All the social programs and ideas that people might want, they're just like throwing that out there for the private company in the private sector, like if it was nothing.
We could do like imagine how much under control we would have this if you had healthcare for everybody, where people weren't afraid to go get a $3,000 bill for just going to get checked out for coronavirus,
Uh huh.
right? And then on top of that, if everyone had sick leave, right? Family leave, stuff like that, they could just use those hours instead of, oh, hope the government sends me a check, because that's what people are doing right now. They're just hoping that, oh, I hope the government helps us out. I hope it. I
Yeah, there's
pray
just
they do.
hope.
Right. Instead of saying, well, you don't have to hope, it's guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, I even heard that if they're gonna give people checks, they're gonna start sending them like around in of April, beginning of May, maybe.
That's ridiculous.
Imagine like, oh yeah, what about the 2 months that we don't waiting? Well, it's up to you. If you had a savings, well,
Right.
cool.
That's the thing. It's like the only reason the economy had to shut down is because people don't have job security, don't have money security, right? So in
Yeah,
California, Los Angeles, they had to put a moratorium on rent. So or evictions and that. So you couldn't evict. They had to stop all evictions in Los Angeles because people don't have the money to pay the bill
Yeah.
because they work hourly, they have no sick leave, they have nothing. And so they had to just say, hey, we have to shut down this entire sector. And this is what I was talking about when I say socialism and government assistance in or safety nets, I should say, is it helps you be more free. It gives you more freedom because now that if you had all those things in place, like Norway, like France and Germany, you end up with a way of actually not having to shut down the housing industry. Because now, if you own an apartment building and you're in the middle of evicting someone, you can't do that anymore because they had to shut it down because they can't have people out on the streets when there's a virus
Yeah, it was
going
a
around.
pandemic.
Now, imagine instead of having to shut down that whole industry, you just go, hey, well, they have sick leave, so I don't have to worry about paying my rent. So now you not only kept the economy flowing in this one industry, but you took off a lot of fear and anxiety from the person not only that owns the building, but the person has to pay for the rent in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's ridiculous. But these people, like, they just see all these politicians just see money signs because we
Yeah.
all know what this is about saving their jobs. That's what it is. They
Yeah.
see there's a problem, not handling it very well. People are eventually going to get tired of them. They'll say vote them out, so they have to give them something to make them happy. Just like Mitch McConnell, right? He was a threat. He's being threatened in his home state of Kentucky. He did. People don't think he done anything for them, and he's right. They're right. So he started pushing all these contracts. No, because he's corrupt. He started pushing all these transportation contracts, all these highway projects contracts towards Kentucky, so they could get money right in an election year, but only in an election year because he's afraid of getting voted out off.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
But I don't think it will save him, but and you'd be surprised now these days how like the level of bullshit they do, to keep their jobs, to keep their behinds safe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because as soon as it's over, all this is done, they're gonna go right back to over there before, which is nothing.
unfortunately.
Yep.